They told us to pack up our bags and head south. They said that the luck of the Irish ran out. They told us they burned down our farms and our stores. They cursed us for cowards and our wives for whores.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Truth on the Tracks. I'm Brandon Turbeville, your host. I'd like to remind all of you who are just joining us for the first time that you can catch Truth on the Tracks here every Monday night and Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on ucy.tv. You can find the show's personal page at ucy.tv/TT for Truth on the Tracks. And on that page you'll find the live broadcast of the show, the archive, and other shows on UCY, the archived versions of this show on the top left-hand corner of the screen. You'll also find my more recent posts on my personal web page on the left side of the screen, the RSS feed, as it's called. And you'll find a chat room there with lots of like-minded people in the chat who are listening to the programming at all hours of the day and night. And people, if you get involved with chat rooms, then certainly join this one, because there's a lot of good people in there at all hours of the day and night. So it's always important to join forces with other like-minded people. Now, you can find my work. I'm a staff writer at activistpost.com, and you can catch up with my work there as it comes out in real time. You can also click on the Contributors tab and find my name listed under Staff Writers, and click on my name, and it will take you to my archive page on activistpost.com. Also, I am a contributing writer to the Anti-Media, Natural Blaze, and the Progressive Gazette. So bear those sites in mind as well. Now, if you're interested in my work specifically, then I would encourage you to go to BrandonTurbeville.com. It's BrandonTurbeville.com. And on that website, I repost all of my articles from all the other sites. I repost all of the archive versions of this show, all of the YouTube videos, all of the interviews that I've done, and all of the other relevant announcements and information. So go to that website, BrandonTurbeville.com. And also, I want to remind you that on February the 18th of this year at 7 p.m., I will be giving a lecture on the dangers of vaccination in Mullins, South Carolina at Coffee Etc. That is located on South Park Street, right downtown in Mullins. Mullins is a small town, for those of you who don't know, that's located in between Florence and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So those are your metropolitan areas. Florence is to the west, Myrtle Beach is to the east, obviously. Mullins is just about right in the middle. It's a very small town, although there are motels around the area, plenty of places to eat. So if you're coming through to Myrtle Beach, or if you're coming through Florence, then it's only about a half-hour drive, 45-minute drive from either one of those places. So make it a point to step in. The event is free. It will go from about a half hour to 1 hour, and again, we've got a PowerPoint presentation. I'll be available to sell books, of course, and to sign them and to chat with you, if possible, after the presentation. So if you're interested in that, please stop by. The event is free to the public. The place is small, so seating will be limited, but please stop in regardless. Now, we've got a lot of things to talk about tonight. And we've got lots of topics. Of course, Syria is always a topic. We can talk about vaccinations. We can talk about Walmart. And we're also going to mention organic food and so forth as well. So, and of course, evolution and creation, if we can get around to some comments regarding the past debate, this recent debate. There's some interesting things I want to point out about that as well. So let's get into this. Now, in terms of the organic food, let me get this right out of the way. Last week, I had Heather Callahan on of Natural Blaze and Activist Post, and she discussed her article, 20, I actually don't have the title here, it's 20 different ways to find local organic food in your area. And It's mentioned in the interview. You can click on the archive here, go to BrandonTurbeville.com and find the archive or the YouTube video. The YouTube video is up. Go to YouTube and search my name, Heather's name, and Truth on the Tracks. So, it's Truth on the Tracks, Heather Callahan, Truth on the Tracks, Brandon Turbeville, Heather Callahan in YouTube. That will come up. It was an excellent interview because we went through 20 different websites, and I think she's updated the article now. It's 21 different websites that essentially act as guides and collators and locators for organic food outlets, or not just organic, but local, also co-ops, farmers markets, fresh food. All of this stuff is easily locatable from these websites. You might want to go through all of them to find a comprehensive list of the ones in your area. Very good resource. Now, I realize that I have a lot of libertarian listeners, a lot of anarchist listeners, despite my protestations about those sociological models on a regular basis. This is a perfect activist tool for you guys as well, because this is voting with your dollars. This is going out and supporting local businesses and local farmers. So this is something that everybody can embrace, and God, I hope everybody can agree on that this is a good idea. So go pull up that article and go through those different websites and plug in your zip code or look on the map, however you have to do it, and find the food sources near you and start supporting them. Okay, this is an excellent tool for activism. Again, you're supporting a local business, you're supporting a local farmer, you're buying healthy food, you're voting with your dollars, and you're pulling out of the big agri system. So this is a way that all of us can fight the system together. And of course, you're doing yourself a favor, you're doing your body a favor in the meantime. Now, Heather and I also discussed using the internet as a tool, and I said this last week, and I've said this many times before on this show. We have squandered this tool called the internet. Those of us in the activist community, we squander a lot of things, actually, and the internet, of course, being one of them, is that people chat their lives away on the internet. They comment on Facebook posts, they send out tweets, they talk to each other in the chat room, but they never make a concerted effort to meet each other in public. So why not actually sit down and make it a point? Plan in the next few weeks, next few months, do what it takes to find somebody that you chat with or that you're friends with online that you haven't met, and make it a point to go meet that person, even if you have to travel. Travel's not the worst thing in the world. You still have the right to travel. And you still hopefully financially you have the ability to do it. I don't want to make broad generalizations because for a lot of us it's becoming harder and harder. But if you're able to do that, then make it a point to go out and meet other people of like minds. You might not like the person, but you might fall in love with them. You might meet your new best friend. You might have connections in terms of how to pull your resources together and build connections and build your own systems, parallel systems, and your own activist organizations, and how to work together. And it's important to develop friendships and face-to-face connections with people of like minds. So please, make that your goal this month, to actually meet someone online. And again, if you're scared to do that, if you're a little worried, your intuition says don't go meet this person by yourself, then don't. Go get a friend to ride with you to go meet them as well. Meet somebody for dinner or for coffee or something like that. It's not the worst thing in the world if the person turns out to be kind of crazy, because for God's sake, if anybody's ever been out on a date in modern life, then they'll realize that craziness is all around, and one bad discussion over coffee is not going to bring the end of the world. So most of the time it's not going to end that way, and you're probably going to find and forge a new connection that will benefit you and the other person and the world in general. So please don't squander the internet anymore. get out there in the real world, make connections, and make a real change. So I invite you all to go listen to the interview that we had last week. And with that being said, I want to move on to some other topics. And the topic at hand, of course, that I feel that we must mention before anything else is the Syrian situation. And I got to go back to an article that I wrote on January 23rd entitled "Syrian Inflammatory Rhetoric Charges West with Supporting Terror." Now, I'm not going to go back that far and go over and over the details here. But essentially, this Geneva II peace conference now that's over with no real agreements on either side, largely because of unreasonable demands made by the Syrian death squad coalitions and the Western imperialists, not the Syrian side. The Syrian side, and when I say the Syrian side, I mean the actual Syrian side, the Syrian government, has been reasonable the entire time. And we had statements coming from Skull and Bones John Kerry, saying, this is a quote, "There is no way the man who has led a brutal response to his own people can regain the legitimacy to govern. One man and his henchmen can no longer hold an entire nation hostage." So we have language like that coming from Kerry. This is not considered inflammatory rhetoric at a peace conference at all. Not by the United Nations. However, statements made by Syrian Foreign Minister Walid Muallim, where he briefly argued with the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon after Moon interrupted him and demanded that he keep his speech down to a shorter time limit. When Muallim responded, "You live in New York, I live in Syria. I have the right to give the Syrian version in this forum." This is called inflammatory rhetoric. When Muallim responded to the death squad delegation, he was accused of inflammatory rhetoric. His entire speech was essentially called inflammatory rhetoric, but it was never reported. The entire speech was not reported. They gave you boring speeches from the Syrian coalition, from Skull and Bones Kerry, from Ban Ki-moon, but they didn't give you the speech by Syrian Foreign Minister Walid Muallim. And I have to say, not only did I read this speech, but I reproduced it in my article that I just mentioned. It's a fairly long speech, but it was simply not reported on in the mainstream media. It was simply ignored, and very few sources actually had it up on their own websites. I think Global Research had it up on their website. I think some Syrian sites had the speech up. Webster Tarpley had it up at tarpley.net. So I included it in full in my article, and I'm not going to go through it here because it is a very long speech, but if you want to read probably one of the best speeches given in recent world history, I recommend that you go read this article and read the speech by Walid Muallim. It's an impassioned speech. It's very passionate. It's very accurate. And the Syrian people have their lives on the line. A lot of them have already lost their lives because of this Western-backed imperialist venture. And this man, or whoever his speechwriter may have been, did an excellent job at exposing not only what the situation is in Syria and who is funding it, but also did an excellent job at conveying it. So the article is entitled "Syrian Inflammatory Rhetoric Charges West with Supporting Terror," up at Activist Post, BrandonTurbeville.com. Please go check it out. There is this great speech that Muallim delivered there. Now, the Syrian situation as it stands, there is this narrative, this absolutely ridiculous, asinine, stupid narrative that Assad is supporting Al-Qaeda. That's right. If you know anything about the Syrian situation, you know this is the dumbest suggestion that one could make, that Assad is supporting Al-Qaeda. And wait, This is why Assad is supposedly supporting Al-Qaeda, according to Skull and Bones Kerry and the Western media. It's because he brings Al-Qaeda in to discredit the rebellion, to discredit the secular rebellion. So Assad has sided with Al-Qaeda to discredit the secular rebellion. In other words, a false flag. Assad has sided with Al-Qaeda in a false flag. Well, it's funny that false flags don't exist when the United States government is involved in bringing down towers in New York. They don't exist then. They don't exist when we have staged shootings in high schools and elementary schools. They don't exist when we have underwear bombers trying to get on planes and detonate dud explosives in their underpants. They don't exist then, but they do exist whenever all the propaganda regarding Assad's rule and Assad's method of fighting the death squads is falling apart. They do exist. False flags do exist. So John Kerry is a conspiracy theorist. John Kerry believes that Assad supports Al-Qaeda. Of course, that is ludicrous. First of all, there was never any secular rebellion, right? There were secular protests, or I should rephrase that. There were protests that weren't armed and jihadist in nature that lasted about 2 days at the most before the snipers came in and the death squads came in, and then we have this situation that we have now. There was no secular rebellion, and I would ask why Assad would bring in Al-Qaeda, who hates Assad, to side with the rebellion who hates Assad in order to discredit the rebellion. This is absolutely ridiculous. And then why is Assad killing Al-Qaeda? Why is Al-Qaeda killing Assad, if that's the case? No, the supporters of Al-Qaeda, and also let me bring this up. If Assad is supporting Al-Qaeda, then why in the hell are the Western powers supporting Al-Qaeda? Right? If the enemy of my enemy is my friend, certainly the friend of my enemy is not my friend. Well, then why are the Western powers backing Al-Qaeda? Why are the the Saudi Arabian instruments of the Western powers supporting Al-Qaeda? This makes absolutely no sense. This is the bottom of the barrel in terms of propaganda, and if you believe it, you have no idea what you are talking about. Don't believe for a second that John Kerry believes any of this stuff. John Kerry is not as stupid as one might think from watching his political career nosedive. So that's one of the latest propaganda narratives, and it's one of those situations where it's almost too stupid to debunk. But nevertheless, that's what's being done here now. The latest propaganda assault against Syria is this UN report, which we'll talk about maybe in a future show. But this UN report with a lot of quotes and citations by Ban Ki-moon, who's absolutely incompetent at best. But I don't believe he's just incompetent. You look at the track record here; he's much more than incompetent. He's quite competent, actually. Whenever you see these people in positions of power do things that are completely unreasonable and illogical, the question should not be, is this person competent? The question should be, is who is this person working for? Right? These people are quite competent. They're just not working for you. So there's a report that is released by the United Nations Security Council regarding the situation in Syria, the tragedy in Syria. And what this report claims is that, it gives you the rundown of how many people died. It gives you the rundown of some of the horrific things that the Syrian people, particularly women and children, have had to endure: rapes, tortures, executions, imprisonment, kidnapping, disappearance, and that sort of thing, starvation. But this report ludicrously suggests that it was Assad, that it's the fault of Assad. This is beyond belief. How many times do we have to debunk this? In fact, I'm not going to go into this that far tonight because we've done this over and over and over on this show and in my articles, in my book. We've done this. All of the evidence, all of the claims against Assad in terms of crimes against humanity and the various savage acts that have taken place inside Syria, I've not seen one of them confirmed. I've not seen one of them that hasn't actually turned into something that was caused by the death squads. Right? From the Hula massacre, from the Ghouta chemical attacks, it's been the death squads. It's not been Assad. So we have these claims by the UN that the vast majority of these attacks are attributable to the Assad regime. Well, where's your evidence? We see things like reports have come to the United Nations. Okay, where do these reports come from? Obviously, you can't give a name for security reasons, fine, but you can tell me who the person was. Was the person an activist? Was this activist say? Was this the activist say School of Journalism? The Death Squad say School of Journalism? Was this reports from the Syrian military? Was this reports from foreigners inside Syria? Was this a UN delegation or a UN observatory committee that figured this out? Did this come from mainstream news media reports? Where did it come from? Nobody knows. It's just that it was reported to the UN. Well, sorry, UN, you're going to have to provide a little more information than that. It's not good enough to just say, we were told. Well, who told you? We want to have at least some kind of context here for these types of reports. And until then, your report is simply invalid because your track record is atrocious. So my advice on this UN report is to drop it. Just pay it no attention, except for debunking purposes. If anybody is even buying this garbage, what we see is that for many people in the United States who've been paying attention to the Syrian situation, the propaganda narrative has fallen apart. But for many people who are obsessed with the Super Bowl, who are obsessed with Dancing with the Stars or whatever other kind of garbage is on television, Big Bang Theory or whatever, for these people, the propaganda has not only worked, but it's gone beyond it's gone beyond belief in this sense. It's the Twilight Zone. What's up is down, what's down is up, and what's in between is up and down. It doesn't really. You can't really tell what people believe so much. The idea is that for many people, Assad was actually they would think in the United States, the Western world might actually believe that Assad is a Muslim fundamentalist who supports Al Qaeda. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I think for most people who've paid attention to the situation, they would know that that's not the case. But it seems that a lot of people are shedding the propaganda that they're being fed, while a lot of people are still eating it up at the same time. So what we're seeing, not just in terms of a propaganda push, but you're also seeing a paper trail being created for an attack on Syria or military action. And that is a danger. The danger for war with Syria has not dissipated in the slightest. We are witnessing turbulence in the stock market. We're witnessing possible price increases for a variety of things. We're talking about possible bank runs and so forth. What a great time to start a war, right? Not only for a diversion, but for the benefits of the big corporations that always benefit during war, and for the benefit of the central bankers that direct wars and direct those corporations and direct government. So this goes back a long, long time, but let's just say we're not out of the woods. We still have to be vigilant. Now, I mentioned the Super Bowl. I just want to briefly say congratulations to Mr. Matthew Mills, I believe is his name. This is a person who has not given up on activism. This is a person who has not simply faded into the realm of being a journalist or a documenter of destruction, right? This is a guy who actually did something, and he uttered two sentences, and in doing so, he made 9/11 truther one of the top Yahoo search terms. He made investigate 9/11 one of the trending terms and over at Twitter, I believe. So congratulations to this guy for actually doing something. Now, that's what I have to say about that. So on to another topic. We need to talk about Walmart for a minute. I want to get into the Walmart situation, and hopefully I can talk a little bit about this before we go to break. I did an article entitled Walmart Manual Teaches Managers to Spot Disgruntled Employees. Walmart Manual teaches managers to spot disgruntled employees. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can you work at Walmart and not be a disgruntled employee? You want to spot a disgruntled employee at Walmart? Just spot an employee. Trust me, they're disgruntled. They can't help but be disgruntled. This is the most bottom-feeding corporation, this most sorry excuse for a company that I've ever seen. Walmart, I mentioned in the article, should receive the title of Most Evil Retail Corporation, but if it doesn't have that title, it's working very hard to get it. Now, these documents that I'm going to mention were dug up by apparently Anonymous. Anonymous found these documents, and it was made public by Occupy Wall Street. And I've got links to the documents there in the article. Now, these training documents for the managers are pretty typical of a major corporation, but they're also really corny in terms of how to handle specific questions that come from the employees. These documents claim that unions are just after the employees' money. Well, it turns out that actually there's not a union that's fighting in Walmart. There's a group called Our Walmart, and this is basically a group of Walmart workers who've come together to fight Walmart's abusive and exploitative labor practices, but they're not a union. Now, I'm not here to claim that Our Walmart is not seeking unionization or that they're not working with unions. I'm not suggesting that at all. In fact, it's pretty clear that they do want to unionize, and it's pretty clear that they are working with unions, and I think that's fine. In fact, I encourage our Walmart to get as much assistance as they can and to unionize. I encourage that. So that's not a bad thing in my book, and it shouldn't be a bad thing to the general public. But back to these manuals, these training manuals also promote company loyalty and what they refer to as open communication. This is their term is the open door. I mean, these strange Orwellian, stupid names that they give these things. Walmart has the open door. The open door. But overall, this is pretty much a laughable attempt to claim that employees have the ability to address their concerns to management, to proper authorities, without the presence of a union. You have a problem at Walmart? We have an open door policy, open door communication. Just go in and tell your manager, and your manager will send the information up the chain of command, and something will be done. It's the open door. Makes me sick. This strange, creepy terminology. Now, there were two sets of documents, and one was the training manuals, but there was also a PowerPoint presentation that was put out by Walmart regarding Our Walmart. And again, Our Walmart is just a group of Walmart workers, right, who are fighting Walmart. And essentially, this PowerPoint presentation is an attack on Our Walmart. It's telling the employees and the managers why Our Walmart is evil and why they should be afraid of them. In this document, of course, they put out just completely false statements regarding Our Walmart, and it's pretty much an obvious attempt to convince management and the workers themselves that the organization is not out for their benefit, and they're also claiming that Our Walmart is out to destroy the company. This would actually be funny when you read these documents if it wasn't so serious, if it wasn't that so many people have their livelihoods at stake, that so many people are being abused by this awful gutter trash corporation that I would love to see non-existent. You talk about Our Walmart wanting to see Walmart destroyed. Well, no, they don't want Walmart destroyed. They just want fair wages. I want Walmart destroyed. I hate Walmart. Walmart is the scum of the earth. It is poor service. Yes, poor service. Poor prices. The prices aren't great either. It's an awful store to begin with. It sells crap, and it's crap that was produced in third world countries at slave labor wages or slave labor outright. They abuse their workers at home. They abuse the workers abroad. They are just the scum of the earth, and they need to be done away with. This company needs to be investigated. It needs to be slapped with some serious regulation. We've got to redo these trade deals. We've got to renegotiate these trade deals, eliminate things like NAFTA, and forget about this Trans-Pacific Partnership garbage. The global agreement on tariffs and trade has to go. We have to have protective tariffs. We have to have a minimum wage, and we have to stop Walmart from abusing its own employees. So our Walmart just wants a fair shake. Make no mistake about it, though. I want Walmart gone away. I want them to be done away with. So before we go to break, I would like to mention that I am a proud non-Walmart shopper. This is one of the things you can do if you also dislike Walmart and what they do. Don't shop there. You don't have to shop there. You can buy things other places. Well, most of you can, because in some places Walmart really is the only thing left. In that case, drive somewhere else if you can. I haven't shopped at Walmart in 14 years. I've been in there, but I haven't spent one red cent in 14 years. It can be done, people. It can be done. We've got a break right now for station identification, so please stay with us. We'll be back on the other side to talk about some other topics. Stay with us. I'm Brandon Turbeville. This is Truth on the Tracks.
I just feel that Walmart should pay us more than enough to support our families, more like $25,000 a year.
Are you able to get by on the money you make from Walmart?
Not at all.
All right, so this has sparked a big conversation today. We're talking disgruntled Walmart workers. They keep protesting the world's largest retailer. Now, keep in mind, Walmart made $17 billion in profits last year, but the woman that you just heard says she doesn't even make enough money to pay the bills. Only about $12,000 last year. Now, it's important to point out she was a part-time worker. She didn't have full-time hours. That's part of the problem here. There is a difference between the two as far as how much they make. But now workers at one Ohio Walmart are holding a Thanksgiving food drive, and it's for themselves.
Take a look at this photo we have for you here. It's from the union-backed group Our Walmart. Some workers are struggling so bad, apparently their co-workers are donating food to them. These bins, though, are located away from customers, so if you walk into Walmart, you're not going to see it.
They are, and we should note that Walmart has responded to this. They're supporting it. They're saying, listen, we're doing this for our employees that are fallen under hard times. Maybe their spouse has lost their job. Maybe they're in a difficult situation. So they are really, see, it says the food supports workers who are facing an unforeseen hardship, such as a spouse losing their job.
Exactly. I mean, at this point, can you really expect everyone to be able to get as much money as they think that they deserve to get paid? I mean, so in that regard, I mean, it's tough. It really is tough out there. I understand that. But it is a good gesture, I think. Some
people may be wondering exactly, I'm just going to walk with me for a minute. A lot of people may be wondering, well, just how much does a Walmart worker make? But let me just put this in perspective for you. A Walmart worker, according to our research, makes $12.83 an hour. That's about $26,000 a year. Let's compare that to the federal minimum wage. That's $7.25. So Walmart pays better. But we also checked what's the average hourly wage for all retail workers. That, $12.17. So actually, Walmart worker is making more than the retail average. Now, keep in mind, the average is an average. So some people are going to make more, some people are going to make less. And Walmart's argument is, listen, some people don't make or have 40 hours a week. And yes, we understand that's difficult, but they don't have full time for all their workers. So, this has sparked a huge debate, and we should point out this is a union-backed company that has posted this on their website. So it's just, an interesting conversation.
Corporations like Walmart, with gross annual sales of more than $1 billion a year. Walmart cautions passage of the law would result in fewer jobs, higher prices, and unemployment would remain in the double digits in some neighborhoods. The companies threatened to stop construction on at least 3 of its Washington stores in retaliation. Councilwoman Yvette Alexander says losing the 2 Walmarts planned for the district she represents would be devastating.
It will be a decrease in 600 jobs that were promised for our community, in a community where our unemployment rate is the 2nd highest in the city.
Washington's mayor opposes the legislation. Still, it passed overwhelmingly, so there's no chance of veto.
For more news, visit youtube.com/pigmind5.
This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to UCY.TV.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Truth on the Tracks. I'm Brandon Turbeville, your host. Once again, I want to remind you that you can catch Truth on the Tracks here every Monday night and Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on UCY.TV. Again, UCY.TV. Now, before the break, we were talking about Walmart, Sprawl Mart, as some people would call it, and how awful this corporation is, and how just absolutely disgusting treatment that the workers are given. And we were also talking about these documents that were released, these documents that were uncovered by Anonymous and made public by Occupy Wall Street regarding the training manuals that Walmart is putting its managers through and the indoctrination that it wants its employees to go through. Now, some of the claims that I mentioned were false, right? Walmart claims that our Walmart is a union in disguise, and that the organization is only after the employees' money in terms of membership dues. Now, first of all, the membership dues are $5 per month. So this is not a $50 membership fee. $5 per month. Now, our Walmart is not a union. Our Walmart is simply a group of Walmart workers who are fighting the treatment that they have to endure right now. And of course they are working with unions and probably do want to unionize. Good for them. I encourage it. I hope they do. Now, I can hear the libertarians and anarchists now saying that, well, he said he wanted to destroy Walmart, and now he's supporting unions, and so unions will destroy the corporation. Well, before you even go there, I want to point out that unions will not destroy this god-awful company. Unions are not going to raise the prices of this crap made in China. In fact, it won't really affect the bottom line, right? If you worry about people making too much money, then look at the CEOs. Look at the CEOs of Walmart, because they don't have to make that much money at the expense of other people. Make as much money as you want, but not on the backs of the abuse of other people. You don't get to take advantage of other people. Yes, you get to be rich, you get to be wildly wealthy and insanely rich, fine, but you don't get to do so by taking advantage of other people. So, back to the documents. Our Walmart is, by the way, not even seeking recognition as a union, although connections between our Walmart and UFCW are close, but we have documents that say that are entitled, "This is our Walmart in the UFCW really here to help you?" And the next slide says no. That's the sum total of the evidence. The sum total of Walmart's argument against, is our Walmart and UFCW really here to help you? The sum total of their evidence is the word no. Well, that's open and shut case. Management said no. Management says they're not here to help, so they must not be here to help. There's also documents entitled Walmart Labor Relations Training Salaried Manager Module. And this is in these documents, there are suggestions that are made to the managers for the proper ways to handle and address employee questions about unions or possible unionization. And this is what one of the documents says, right? It says, responding to union questions and comments. Thank the associate for using the open door process by asking you a question. State Walmart's associate relations philosophy in your own words. Answer the question or get an answer. Report activity to the labor relations hotline immediately. If you see something, say something, right? There's actually a labor relations hotline immediately. So there's actually an article by Abby Zemet of Common Dreams, which I'm not going to go through this right now, but she gave some sample dialogue of the Walmart discussion. Actually, let's just go through one of the samples she's got here. One of the associates goes to the manager and he says, "Hey, I have a quick question for you." The other associate says, "Sure." The employee says, "Hey, I was talking to one of the guys in my area and they told me that we could get automatic increase in pay if we got a union in the store. Is that true?" And the manager says, "Well, that's a good question, LaTanya, and thanks for asking." But this right away sounds like normal dialogue, right? Well, that's a good question, LaTanya, and thanks for asking. But our company doesn't feel that associates should have to spend their hard-earned money to have someone represent them, and neither do I. But to answer your question, through the collective bargaining process, there's no telling what they will end up with. They can end up with more, the same, or even less. The employee says, "You gave me a lot to think about. I appreciate it. Thank you." The employer says, "You're welcome." It's great dialogue. That's exactly how it would work, too. All right, so let's just go ahead and get through this. We've got more documents. Walmart's fears of unionization here. It's got the whole "if you see something, say something" with the hotline, and look at these what they call early warning signs that there's union presence or union sentiment. Mentioning unions or union websites and commercials. Well, you got to be a genius to pick that out, right? If the employee is mentioning a union, well, they might be thinking of unionizing. Speaking negatively about wages and benefits. Yeah, that's another warning sign too. If you want to stop it, instead of setting up these ridiculous hotlines, you could actually give them better wages and benefits. Asking for a witness to be present instead of just being unilaterally fired or abused and verbally abused or something. Associates feel excluded from rest of facility. Associates cease conversation when leadership approaches. Well, there's no reason to cease the conversations, right? Because it's not like the leadership of the team is going to rat on them or anything, right? Because they don't have anything like labor relations hotlines. Union representatives showing up at the facility or their homes. Well, first of all, I would ask, how the hell would Walmart know if there's a union representative showing up at an employee's home? Is Walmart watching the home? But if union representatives show up at the facility, again, yeah, that's pretty genius discovery of an early warning sign. And talk of union meetings. Wow, you got to be really bright to work in this position, don't you? Right? But anyway, this is Walmart's ridiculous slides. I mean, can you imagine sitting in the meeting and hearing this garbage as a Walmart manager? Of course, it is a minute amount of authority over another person. So whenever you give people minute amounts of authority over other people, well, the vast majority of these managers probably will just jump right on up and take this seriously and actually try to snuff out any union organizing that's taking place in their store. Because give somebody a little uniform and just a little power, and they suddenly become God. They suddenly become massa, right? So, I thought I'd give out the number to the Walmart Labor Relations Hotline, just in case anybody wants to inform the proper Walmart authorities of anything they think the Walmart authorities should be informed of. And it's 1-877-54-LABOR. Again, 1-877-54-LABOR. 1-877-54-LABOR. You feel free to tell them that you read that number in my article or heard it on my radio show, coming from somebody who hasn't shopped at their disgusting wasteland for 14 years. I'm not going to continue with this. You can go look up the article yourself. It is Walmart Manual Teaches Managers to Spot Disgruntled Employees. If you're a disgruntled Walmart employee, that's the number, 1-877-54-LABOR. Give them a call. Probably should give your own name, though, if you're an employee. But so I want to look at the vaccine issue before we get into evolution and creation, because there is some important information to give out in that regard. Actually, now that I think about it, let's take a step back. Let's take a step back and really get into the creation evolution situation, since this is somewhat of a trending topic, and since I don't know how long I'll be able to spend on this. So the recent debate that I'm referring to is the debate that took place on the internet in Kentucky at, I think, the Answers in Genesis Museum, the Creation Museum is what they would call it, the Creation Museum. And this debate was between Bill Nye, I think we all know Bill Nye, the science guy, and Ken Ham, who is the president of the Creation Museum, the owner-operator, I guess, of the Creation Museum. The debate was 2 hours, and I should say this is probably the most fair debate I've ever seen in terms of the moderation, in terms of the questions, and in terms of the setup. You would think that a CNN moderator would be quite biased and quite unfair, especially given their track record whenever they moderate political debates and so forth. But this guy was actually very fair. All the questions were fair. So neither side should claim that there was any bias in terms of how it was set up. But I'm going to argue that it was set up, but not what you think. So we watched this debate, and Bill Nye is your typical mainstream scientist, right? He's your typical guy who is anti-religion, and despite his claims, anti-religion, and generally accepts the basic tenets of science, and I put science in scare quotes here, of mainstream science, that are actually not so scientific. Evolution being one of them, but many other issues as well, and there's no point to really dwell on that yet. This mainstream science, of course, that we're seeing now is ultimately inhumane. It's dehumanized. It does reduce humanity down to the lowest levels, and it is inhumane, and it does ignore legitimate possibilities for lots of other things, for the presence of higher consciousness, higher power, that sort of thing. All right, but on the other end we have Ken Ham. Now Ken Ham believes in creation. Ken Ham believes that the Earth was created in around 10,000 years at the most. It's only about 10,000 years old. Now, let's put this into context. What we have now is an ongoing culture war. We've had this for years, and it's still going. This is the war between the religious right on one extreme and the lunatic left on the other extreme. And even in the more moderate segments too, you have the maybe rural white conservatives, versus the urban white trendies, and of course ethnic groups are all thrown in there as well, and gender concerns and sexual orientation concerns. And you have this battle. And as all battles, because all of these battles and divisions are engineered, one side is adamantly for its own given position, and the other side is adamantly for theirs, and there's no in between. And when I mean in between, there's no use of a brain. It's simply wildly associating oneself with a side and refusal to offer an olive branch or consider the other side might be right or might not even be so bad, and a refusal to actually see outside of that box, because they're all in a box, and that they won't get outside of that. They won't get outside of their conditioning. It's either or. I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. And if you do break outside of that box, of course, you have things like, I'm a libertarian, I'm a socialist. Well, you're still in the box if you're picking these labels. I'm a Christian. I believe in science. I'm a liberal. I'm a progressive. Well, you're in a box. It's not just a box, you see. It's programming. It was designed to put you there. It was designed to divide people. It was designed to do so in a way that you would never get out of that little division, that little segment, cubbyhole that you're in. And it works. So we've got these debates, like what we saw about creation and evolution. Now, I'm going to say that this debate was a setup for the culture war. Now, I'm no fan of religion, and people who've listened to my show would know I'm no fan of religion. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a Jew. I'm not anything in terms of religion. I don't believe in any of them. Of course, I believe in some of the tenets of those religions, but I also don't believe in most of them. So that's just my qualification here. I, of course, certainly do believe in scientific evidence, but the mainstream science that we have today, the politicized science today, i.e. global warming, evolution, those sorts of things, overpopulation, etc., clearly I'm not going to give my brain over to that either. And I don't believe in that either, because this is a religion. You want to see a religion, you go into a church and you tell the people in the church that you don't believe in God, and you see their reaction of shock, their reaction of anger. They're going to shun you. They're going to fight with you. They're going to persecute you. You won't be welcome. Now, you go to a university and a group of college professors and tell them that you don't believe in evolution. You're going to get shock. You're going to get anger. You're going to get an argument, a fight, and you're going to get persecuted. You won't be welcome. It's because they're in a religion. So the debate between Bill Nye and Ken Ham was a debate of two religions. One calls itself science. One calls itself Christianity. Call it whatever you want. It's a religion. Now, again, I'm no fan of religion, but there is a war on religion, because religion does give you certain tenets and belief systems and certain social platforms that people mutually agree on. That's why there's a big war on Islam across the world, to destroy that religion, because it's not very accepting of certain types of behavior. And like usury. And there's a war on Christianity, again, for those basic tenets that it has. Now, in the past, you could use religion to get people to do whatever you want. You could get religion to be used to spear babies and so forth like that. But still, there was a point in which if the edict of the king or the government disagreed with the edict of the religion would win out on pain of death. So this has to be destroyed. It has to take man off its pedestal to an extent. It's going to be replaced with this scientific dictatorship that Julian Huxley spoke about. So in this process of destroying the religions, you also have to do that intellectually and publicly. And this is exactly what this debate was. Ken Ham is a young earther. Bill Nye was right to point out that there are millions of Christians all over the world, and most of them don't believe in this ludicrous, idiotic theory that the earth is only 10,000 years old. It's a stupid theory. It's an unscientific theory. It makes no sense. It contradicts itself, and the only basis for it is the Bible. As people could see in the debate, the only response that Ken Ham could ever have to any of Bill Nye's questions was, the Bible says. The Bible says. I believe the Bible. And, of course, there's nothing you could ever show me that would contradict or make me change my mind, because I believe what the Bible says. Bill Nye destroyed Ken Ham, and it was set up to be that way. It was set up to destroy Ken Ham in the same way that the debates between Christopher Hitchens several years ago, for those of you who remember Christopher Hitchens, he was the British guy who had just this personal war against religion. Of course, he was a warmonger. He supported the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. The left loved him. The left was anti-war, but as long as you've got certain things going for you, like hating Christianity or religion in general, you're okay. You can kill as many innocent people as you want. Support doing that if you want, as long as you hate religion. So they would take Christopher Hitchens, the British, the intellectual, alcoholic, but nevertheless British intellectual, in quotes, and they put him up in a debate against Al Sharpton. And Al Sharpton was supposed to represent the Christian perspective, right? This is a guy who could barely, recognize, speak, or understand the English language. And he's supposed to represent the Christian perspective. Well, of course, Christopher Hitchens destroyed this idiot. It's to be expected. In an intellectual debate, Sharpton is no match for anybody. Well, Ken Ham got destroyed by Bill Nye, and it was set up to be that way. There could have been a better debate between somebody who didn't believe in evolution, because evolution is a theory that is largely unscientific, and evolution is not proven. It is a theory, and it was inserted into the cultural understanding, into the mainstream scientific community through, yes, a conspiracy. It's called the X Club. Don't believe that? Go read up on the X Club. That's how it got into the British scientific community. The X Club was formed in order to infiltrate the British Scientific Society and push this theory, because there was an agenda even back then. I hope you all know that, and the agenda is the same today. So they could have put up somebody who actually had a brain in between their ears and could have defended the stance that is anti-evolution, but they didn't. That side will never get aired because the agenda is not to have a debate. The agenda is for the destruction of religion and the promotion of a scientific dictatorship. You can't watch these debates and believe that these things were created for your entertainment or for your education. They're created for your indoctrination. They're created for purposes of controlling you. Now, I wish we had more time on this show. I have rambled to the end of the show. We're not going to be able to get into the vaccination issue. So, maybe next week we'll be able to discuss this a little bit more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Truth on the Tracks. Thanks for listening tonight. Again, go to activistpost.com, BrandonTurbeville.com, Again, BrandonTurbeville.com. Got all the relevant information there. This has been Truth on the Tracks. I'm Brandon Turbeville. We'll see you next week.
Despite all the talk about economic hard times from lawmakers, the Center for Responsive Politics has found the median net worth for a Congress member is now at $1,008,767, meaning for the first time just over 50% are millionaires.
For more news, visit youtube.com/pigmind5.
This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to UCUI.tv.